How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? So, today I wanted to talk about a very important subject, a subject of the ManoSphere, which I had actually made a conscious decision when I started this channel that I am not going to discuss gender issues on this channel. And there's a reason for that. But ever since the Netflix show Adolescence came out this year, and then I saw this show, it has really infuriated me and upset me so much that I thought that it's perhaps a time for me to break this promise that I made to myself that I'm not going to discuss gender issues on this channel. Firstly, I found out about this show when someone shared about it on their WhatsApp stories. And by someone here, I'm talking about a woman. And this is a woman who is one of my contacts, 30s something plus woman, single, who is complaining about her inability to find a man. And then she shared some things about this show, and already I knew that there was going to be a problem here. So I went on and I watched the show, and lo and behold, it was filled with so much falsehoods and distortions and smears and defamation of a group of people that up until recently have not had any platform to share their views and their concerns and their grievances. And then now that they do, everyone in society is trying to shut them up. This story about adolescence is about a teenage kid who stabbed a girl to death. And then this entire 4-part series is a convoluted effort to try to link this murder to the boy following the ManoSphere online. And they show not even a scintilla of evidence in terms of how this happened, even in this fictional story. They show no evidence at all that this boy was influenced by the ManoSphere to stab this girl to death. The only thing that they showed is that this boy has been following the ManoSphere online. And as we all know, that it is not enough to show that someone has been doing something to connect them to a certain crime. This is like basically like saying that if, for instance, I'm found to have killed someone, and then you can find evidence that I stay at a particular suburb in Houston. You and then you find that I watch a particular show on television and I love it. You still need to show the link between, if you want to say that me staying here has a link with me killing this person, you still need to show evidence that connects this event with that event. You still need to show evidence that connects me watching this show and me committing this crime, which they failed to do, which it upset me so much because there's been this concerted effort, especially in Europe, of smearing and defaming the ManoSphere. And I understand that the ManoSphere is not going to be embraced by society the way that society embraced feminism and is pushing feminism down our throat for the past 50 years. But the level of smears and lies and distortions and taking out of context of the ManoSphere is actually incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And for me, the main issue for me is that every single person who has said that there's a link between violence of young boys towards girls has failed to show any evidence that links that violence to the manosphere. There's no evidence at all. There's not even any tangential evidence at all that links the manosphere with violence of boys to girls. There's not even an evidence that shows any increase in violence committed by boys towards girls that is tied to the manosphere. And what is worse for me is that they can't even give me a single example of any prominent manosphere figure who promotes violence against women, or any manosphere figure who condones, at the very least, because if we're going to cover it as a spectrum, at the worst case scenario, active inciting of violence, and on the least side of the spectrum, condoning the violence. They can't even tell me or give me a simple example, and this is so upsetting, because there've been these targeted smears towards Andrew Tate, for instance, trying to connect him with violence of boys, and they're not providing any evidence that connects him to it. Not a single scintilla of evidence. And I don't care how you feel about the man. I don't care whether you hate him, you despise him, you disagree with his views. But if you're going to accuse people of such a grievous crime, at the very least, what you owe them is to provide evidence. Or else what's going to happen, people will be sued for defamation. Because what is actually happening here is defamation. People will be sued for defamation, and they will pay millions of dollars for defamation. Because this thing has been going on for so long. And I can tell you that the ManoSphere, for instance, is such a broad church of voices. And some of these voices are reasonable, some of them are as a mix of being reasonable and unreasonable, and some of them are outright crazy. And even within that, I have not found a single manosphere voice that has ever encouraged men or boys to be violent towards men, or even hinted at a justification for violence towards girls or women. You won't find it anywhere. And the fact that you won't find it has not stopped these people from smearing the manosphere. And surprisingly, the person who made this show is a man. He actually is an actor in that show. He plays the dad of this kid who murdered this little girl. His name is Stephen Graham, because it's obviously a man. Because a lot of these things that bash men are made by these white knight individuals who imagine that if they pander to women, that somehow they're going to be considered as these virtuous and righteous men. And he had an interview, it turns out, sometime in March, and he was explaining what motivated him to make this show. And I'm going to play it to you just now. Just stay with me. Then we're going to react to his interview.
And the reason why I wanted to make this particular piece was the idea that I had came from, I read in the newspaper that a young boy had stabbed a young girl to death. And then literally 3 or 4 months on the news, I was watching it, and there was a section on the news about a young boy who'd stabbed a young girl to death. And these were both at opposite ends of the country. And instantly, if I'm really honest with you, it hurt my heart. One, as a father, but two, as a human being. I was just really, I don't know, it rocked me to the core of how a young lad could do this to a young girl. Do you know what I mean? And my main question was why? This can happen to any of us. Do you know what I mean? And in the sense of that microcosm of the home and the macrocosm being the outside world, that's not really the case these days. When your boy or your girl is in their bedrooms, they have access to, like you just said, you know what I mean, the world. And I think what my main question was that maybe we're all slightly to blame, or we should all look at it from different perspectives, you know what I mean? Not just the family, but the school, society, politics, you know what I mean? Community. We're all maybe we should all be accountable in some respect. And ours is a fictitious case, but I just wanted to maybe shine a light upon that and raise the question of create conversation at home with parents and children, do you know what I mean?
Okay, so he's saying that he saw a story of a boy that killed a girl in the UK, and then 4 months later he saw another story of a boy that killed a girl in the UK, and but in a different part of the UK. But now as you can tell, he has provided no evidence of these stories that motivated him to make this show, that any of these killings were related to the ManoSphere at all. He provided no evidence at all. He did not even try to provide any evidence that these killings were connected in any way to the ManoSphere. This is the problem that we're having. And then he's saying that what immediately came to his mind was to ask why. Okay, he's asking himself why, but then if you're asking yourself why don't you go find the data of what happened? Why don't you actually get the data instead of speculating that this group that you disagree with, that you're within your right to disagree with them, that to speculate that they are responsible for inciting a boy to kill a girl when you have not provided any evidence that they have. This is the problem that we're having here. That you have people who hate the ManoSphere so much, and they are busy smearing it, defaming it, making up all kinds of bullshit scenarios in terms of what's happening. And for me, the problem that I'm having the most is that in Western society, we've had 50 years of men and boys being bashed and being shit on and being told that they are nothing, and that men are trash, men are shit, men are responsible for all the problems in the world. Consistent, persistent. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's in our education system. It's on our television. It's on our radio. It's online. Not a single one of these people have any issues with these things that are being said constantly, persistently about men on television, on our radio stations, in our churches, where basically Father's Days are days to insult and bash and tell men how much they are not doing enough. Recently, as last year, we had a situation on national television in the US where a bunch of women sat around, or they were asking a question of why do we need men? And then the question was that no, we don't need men. Men are useless. You know, they've been saying now for 50 years on television, on radio, on print media, on movies, on TV shows that men are worthless, men are useless, men are all these things. Not a single one of them are coming out to push back against this. And even right now, as we speak, we have an active war in the middle of Europe where men are literally being thrown to prison for refusing to fight that war, while women are able to flee the country as refugees. None of them are saying anything about that. We have a situation in the West where discrimination against men on family court is pandemic. Not a single one of them is saying anything about that. Where 90% of all child custody rulings go in favor of women, where men are not able to see their kids, are not able to, but they are being forced by the state to support kids that they don't have access to, and in some instances to support kids that are not even theirs. Not a single one of these people have anything to say about that. Not a single one of people of these people have anything to say about men falling behind in every metric in education. None of them have anything to say about about the fact that about uh, about the fact that men get discriminated against when it comes to sentences, that the states in the West refuse to put women in prison for the same crimes that they're committing, that men are committing. Sometimes a disparity in sentences that can be as much as 60%. None of them are saying anything about that. None of them are saying anything about the fact that men are the majority victims of every single crime, that victims of murder and on homicide. That when you're looking at all the violent crimes that happen in any country in the West, that men are the number one victims of crimes, even when you include the disproportionate numbers of rape, that women are more likely to be victims of rape, even when you include that if you put all violent crimes that men are victims of and women are victims of, men suffer more in terms of as victims of violence in the West, anywhere in the West, and that includes South Africa. None of them have anything to do with this. None of them have anything to do with the fact that every single institution in the West is anti-men and pro-women. Men are being told that being men is a bad thing, that the very essence of being men is bad, it's toxic. None of them have anything to say about these things. But when men are now having their own platforms where they are speaking to other men about things that matter to them, and then you have all of these cocksuckers are now busy smearing men and telling men to shut up. This is actually for me very upsetting. It's very, very upsetting, and very, very infuriating. And this, by the way, is not the only show on Netflix that smears men in particular. Almost every movie, every series, every TV show, and I just felt that I have to respond to this because of how upsetting it is, and people are going to be sued because of this. People are going to be sued because men are tired of being caricatured and slandered and being defamed by people who refuse to listen to what men are saying. Because clearly, if these people were listening to what is being said in the ManoSphere, they will actually respond like people who were actually listening. And it's very clear to me that these people are not listening. And the fact that, for instance, we've been told so much about the dangers of misogyny, while misandry is mainstream in our society, is actually quite insane for me. It's absolutely insane. That women, for instance, can say anything they want to say about men. Women can hit men in shows on television. People laugh at it. Men are victims of domestic violence at an equal rate as women. That is not being talked about. That domestic violence incidents are equal in terms of men and women are equal victims. No one wants to talk about this. No one wants to talk about any of these things. But the only thing they want to talk about is to silence men and to smear men and to slander them and to caricature them. We are sick and tired of this shit. We are really sick and tired of it. Anyways, see you folks on the next one.